Happy Friday, Instagram. How are you? Cynthia Alejandra here. You guys, today we are kicking off part 2 of the Meaningful Wealth series that me and my girlfriend, sweet friend, business bestie Jewelz, have started. My name is Cynthia Alejandra. I am a mentor and coach for driven women who are ready to break through the ceiling of their success. And I am super honored because I have partnered with my beautiful friend Jewelz Garibay, who is a subconscious master. So good to see you. I was just inviting her. We had to start the video over because it would not let me add you later. So if you're here live, feel free to give us emojis and feed the energy. Real quick, Jewelz, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are. What is your gift in the world? And let's pick up where we left off because we're about to start something super juicy.
I know. Okay. So I'm Jewelz. I work with the subconscious mind. I love working with people on blocks that they might have, whether it's in their personal life or business or finding fulfillment in your life. I love coaching people on the cool skills that the highly successful use to get ahead in their careers and their business. And it also works beautifully in personal life. So it all comes together and molds in this beautiful way of life changing to figure out who you are in this world. Who do you want to be when you walk in this world? And, you know, that way you feel the
I love that. I love that. So for those of you that, may not know Jewelz, or you're new to both of our worlds, I came across Jewelz' work about a year ago. So I've been working with driven women, successful women from all walks in life, and helping them master their self-authority and creating a fulfilled success. Like when people think, once I reach that goal, once I do this, once I get the body, once I get the husband, once I do this, once I do that, then I'll be happy. And so my gift to the world has been to work with women and actually awaken their self-authority in order for them to succeed. I hit a ceiling and I realized that I needed to do some additional work myself. Every mentor needs a mentor. Every mentor needs somebody to partner with to help them. We are meant to be a collective.
yes.
I encounter Jewelz, and Jewelz has been like, like that friend that comes over and then you like a pipe busts and then you're like, oh, my pipe is acting weird. And it's like, oh, I have a tool. And immediately they fix it. That's my Jewelz. Jewelz is my tool. And
I love you.
Because like we get to work together, we get to work together in such an intertwined and beautiful way. I call her my business wife. Grrr.
I love
Happily married, though, I will say this. So, in the most non-loving, non-LGBTQ way, I love you, Jewelz.
I love you too, Sid. And I have to say, the ladies that come from your space, I cannot say enough about your work, Cyn. The ladies that come from your space, it's exponentially faster because they will come in to a session with me and they'll be like, I need to work on this. And they know exactly pinpoint where it, what the issue is. And then I can just dive into, okay, where is it and how can we solve it? Change it, remove it, whatever we need to do. But it makes the process so much more streamlined when it's both of us. It's amazing. I can't even say enough about your work. It's so beautiful.
Oh my God. I love that. And I love that for our clients, because here's the thing, like, and I really mean this with all my heart, Jewelz. The idea of when I first started doing this, when I first realized the need of this work was when I climbed a corporate ladder that I realized, and it felt at that time as the wrong ladder. And
yeah,
I found it fascinating because as I was, in corporate, I had been in corporate for many years and I was working in project management, and I got the opportunity to work with all levels of leadership. I was in a very reputable company in the health industry, and it was fascinating to me that women that had reached a peak in their careers, you know, in an era where we're sold that, hey, you have to be financially stable, you have to go chase the bag, but then you also have to take care of your kids, and you know, maybe you need to sacrifice your family, or maybe you need to sacrifice a little bit to get this. Like, in a world that is constantly feeding us what we need to do, I found a lot of discontent. And nothing sucks more than I read this quote yesterday, as a matter of fact. Nothing sucks more than making money and feeling like you're still broke. Nothing sucks more than building success and still feeling empty.
Yep.
So if you haven't seen our series, I really want to invite you to catch the video from last week. This is part 2. It will give you so much context for today. And Jewelz, I want to thank you for making the time. Let's dive this. I really want to talk about why do you think that is? What do you think people will climb a ladder like me and then get there and be like, oh, this sucks? What happens?
I think several things, but I would say the biggest one is, do you feel that any one of us really sits down at any point in, let's say even in high school, at any point in our life, but high school is usually when you're kind of making that pivot of, okay, what do I want to do, right? Like, you're supposed to have this magical understanding of what you want to do for the rest of your life as a career before you're even 18. And then you got all these options put in front of you. But if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you value, how do you make that choice? And how do you know it's your choice, right?
Or
I mean,
even further more, like, what do you value at that time is so different than what you value now.
100%.
Right?
100%. And what you value in your personal life, some of those values will probably carry over to your career and your spiritual, right? But depending on the context of the pillar they're in, you could take a value like freedom, and it might be your number one it might be your number one in your personal, but it might be down on the list. It's still important, but not as high as, say, like certainty in your career.
So let's take a
And
step
that,
back. Hang on, let's take a step back. What do you mean what you value in the pillar? What does that mean?
okay, so
For those that are here that don't know what that means.
beautiful question. We have different pillars of our life. If you took your life as a whole, we have different pillars. So career is a pretty easy one, right? What do you want to do with your career life? We spend a lot of time, in our careers, so we want to make sure we enjoy it. And then you have your personal life, which could be your health and fitness, could be another pillar, could be your family. Another pillar could be your own personal hobbies. And then you have like your religious or spiritual beliefs. That's a whole nother pillar. And so a lot of the work that I do, self-concept work, is who am I, or who are you at the deepest, purest level? Who do you want to be? And this poses a lot of really fun questions, but at the core of it, that's the map of who we are in the world. Most of us have never done this work, and it's beautiful work, but most of us have never been asked these questions. I know I didn't, so please, I'm going to ask you this in just a second. But when I was going through trying to figure out what career I wanted, it was like this job, this job, this job, or this job, right? But I had no context for the deeper meaning behind that. Like, is it going to eat up a lot of my time? Is it something that can grow to a point where I feel fulfilled? Like, is it going to fulfill my values? That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, is it going to make me feel good? And case in point, like, I know you have a beautiful story that you shared last week about climbing the corporate ladder, and you're like, what did I just do? Right? Like, it wasn't fulfilling anymore. Well, if we don't answer these questions before we're figuring out what career we want, how do we know that the choice we're making is ours or if it's somebody else's? The whole picket fence, white picket fence, a dog and 2 kids, right? That's the story that a lot of us have been sold. But what if that's not going to fulfill your needs?
Yeah.
See, we all have basic needs. But out of those basic needs, you and I, drive for that need might be slightly different, right? I might have a higher need for fun, and you might have a higher need for freedom or certainty, right? Safety. And I can go into explaining that deeper too, but I just want to bounce it back to you for a second. Did you ever have anybody sit down with you and help you figure out what meaning do you want behind your career and family? Like, what's important to you before you made these big decisions in your life?
Yeah, so it's fast. This is a fascinating conversation because you have described the typical American mindset. I migrated here with a different mindset.
Okay.
In my head, I've done everything I wanted since I was the black sheep in my family. I've always been the black sheep. And so everything I did was almost like a middle finger to everything that I thought was meant to be done. Like, I didn't think about college. College was not even a thing for me. I knew, to be frank, if I go back to those high school years in my world, I just knew I needed to make money. And I knew that I wanted to have a family. For me personally, I knew that if I had a family, like a husband and a kid, I would be successful and I would be just very happy with that. But when I migrated here, I had to become a provider for my family. So then I had to think about those questions, but it was more of a reactive thought. It wasn't like, hey, what do I want to do? It's like, no, shit, we got to eat. So you got to go to work and got to make it happen however. But I did have this thing that I just knew that I was going to make money. I wasn't sure how because I didn't even speak the language, but I just knew I was going to make money, right? Fast forward to now, looking back in hindsight, I can see that, getting here, I bought into the American dream of, hey, you have to be successful. What success looks like, you get to have a career, you get to have a title, you get to have a car that looks a certain way, you get to live in a certain area of town, you get to hang out with the certain kind of people. But what's really fascinating was I didn't even have the college. So I already flunked that idea of like being successful. So that's fascinating because you're right. Like when you talk about like the pillars and you talk about the values and what matters, it's fascinating because it depends, to your point, of your upbringing. Like who sold you on what framework almost.
Yep.
So is that how you did it? Is that how you, because you're an entrepreneur, you've been an entrepreneur since I've known you, but did you do the whole corporate thing? Like, how was your story?
Ooh, my story's a little different. I went to college. I grew up in a family that didn't necessarily push college, but I had a best friend in high school where her grandparents were very, very much like, no, you go to college. So I mean, it was a lot to their influence that encouraged me to go. And believe it or not, my first degree is in architectural engineering.
You're a nerd.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's my background, is architectural engineering. And then honestly, I worked in that field for years and I was getting sick because of the computers. Like the light from the computer was just really causing really bad migraines. And I fell in love with dance and I was really good at it. And so let me tell you, the engineers that would come in to learn to dance as a hobby, those were my peeps. I had them down. Oh yes, girl. So I did dance, ballroom dance, for 20 plus years. And it was a beautiful chapter of mine and my husband's life. We traveled the world doing it, met beautiful people. And I could see the changes that it made in people, but there was a depth that I wasn't getting. And it was that I climbed it very, very high, but there was a depth that was missing in my heart and my soul for the results I wanted for my people that I was working with. And so I was very blessed to be able to stay at home with my children for the first 7 years, which was hyper important to me. And so now it's, time for me to kind of move out. Still very important to me in my children's lives. So entrepreneurship is definitely the way for me. But I got to deep dive within myself of what did I want? What was that depth? And that's where this comes in. And now I can see full circle of why dance created the results it did on a developmental, transformational level of the clients we had. But this work is just now more direct. And so that's my background, but that's been the journey. And even when I started doing this work and I started, working, usually when you learn a new skill, especially something like this, you're doing it on yourself first. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I pushed myself hard. I think at one point I broke myself and I put myself back together, but it was 100% worth it. And not everybody's path is that way. I pushed hard, but for me, when I learned the fact that we have a map of how we view the world and how we fit into the world, and then I learned how to take that apart, and I learned that we had the possibility of changing it, like literally remaking yourself into whomever you want. I dove deep in that, and I dove hard, and it is the most beautiful work, and it's so fulfilling. That's how I ended up here. I love helping people. I just love people innately, and that's never waned on me. But I wanted that depth, and that's how I ended up here, and that's how I ended up with this work. Because again, like you, I climbed a ladder for so far, and realized like it wasn't quenching that. I'm going to sound maybe off a little, or maybe this will resonate. It wasn't quenching what I felt I was here to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I can see how that went by to you. I mean, you went the extreme opposite, like from being techie to
Yeah.
like being very extravagant in your dancing and just like putting yourself in movement and all the things. Which I mean, you walk into. Um, I mean, this takes me back to the corporate days when I used to work in corporate. It sounds ridiculous when I tell people this, but you can hear a pin drop when you walk into the IT area or the technical area. Everybody's so quiet, but it's like you surround those geeks around like drinks and like music, and their body starts to move. You know what I mean? And they discover a different passion. So I'm not surprised. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been full circle, but I find each, and you'll learn quickly. I have a very expansive way of thinking, but I have found that there are pieces of each of my chapters of life that come together, and it helps me see what needs to happen within a client to get what desired outcome they're wanting. So it gives me the ability to be multifaceted when I'm helping people.
Right. And I've experienced that in your world as well. Like that's I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so in love with what we're doing in this space. It's because a lot of the women that come to my world are women that, like me, at one point reach their ceiling in success. You know, you have the idea of, what kind of car you need to drive, what kind of career you need to have. You know, you finally work yourself to a level, and then you're like, now what? I know for me at one point, I was like, once I bought the American Dream, I was like, yeah, once I start making six figures, that's really what's going to get me happy. And then I built six figures under massive burnout and massive mom guilt, right? And doing that, I'm like, no, there's got to be something different. And that's, what started my work in this space. And now helping women out of that rut, right? That mindset, you start to learn that no matter what level of success you're at, whether it is making four figures to nine figures, like it doesn't matter where you're financially at. It's where what you consider success and are you truly fulfilled. And so what started the conversation earlier was before we broke the internet was how there's this idea that you can be afraid of success, and in the realm of, why would anybody be afraid of success? People are afraid of dying, people are afraid of heights, but why would you be afraid of success? What is, like, if you could think of one word, why do you think that is?
I would, one word, that's a tough one.
Actually, I feel like your microphone is covered up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. One word might be tricky, but I could do it in a few.
Okay.
I'm like on the spot. So now I'm going to think about this all week. Um, I don't think it's a fear of success. I think it's a fear of what success could bring. And
Okay.
anybody that listens to, I know you love Dr. Joe Dispenza. I do too. He's amazing. If you don't know him and you're watching live,
Joe
like, I highly
P.
recommend him. What'd you say?
I said Joe P.
Yes. He talks a lot about the known and unknown, and simply put, our mind wants to protect us and keep us safe. It doesn't know if the unknown, meaning the thing that you don't have yet in your experience, is safe. And up to this point, you're alive, and that your brain considers that safe. Even if you're miserable, depressed, in a situation you don't like, it's going to try to prevent you from going to the unknown because it wants to keep you safe. And that's where, like, your work and my work comes in, is we're able to pinpoint and teach you. And that's the most important part that I love, is empowering you to understand this stuff yourself, so that you I love working with people, but you don't need me as a crutch, rather more of a guide. And so I try to teach people these things so you can find it yourself and correct it yourself. And the point is, to all of this, is that your mind's trying to protect you from things that you don't understand, that you haven't experienced yet, because it doesn't know if it's safe. And so I would say it's not a fear of success. I think it's a fear of the unknown. It's a fear of what success could bring. Could success bring more work and take you away from your kids? Now, if you don't know that subconsciously, that's a real fear. But once you bring that forward to the awakened conscious mind and you see it for what it is, you can go, oh, well, I can schedule that out. I could scale up and hire an assistant, right? There's always solutions, which, to your point, that's why you have a mentor or a coach to work with. But I don't think it's a fear of success. And, to anybody that watches this, if you're telling your clients that, like, I hope I encourage you to really think about it differently, because I was one of them too, that you would say, oh, it's a fear of success. Honestly, it's just creating a problem that doesn't exist. It's not a fear of success, it's a fear of what success could bring or take from. Again, going back to that, we're always looking for feelings that we want more of or less of. So I either, success could scare me because it's going to take more of my time, right? But again, bring that forward and go, oh, I have solutions for that. That's what I think it really is. That's, in my experience, that's the biggest leaps forward I've had in my clients, is when they realize that.
And I see that Marcy joined. Hey, honey, good to see you. So I love this conversation. I see that May is here, and I am not going to even try to pronounce these usernames because they're a little complex. But just know we see you and we love you. But I love this conversation because what that translates to, right? Again, to your point, for me, it created a boogeyman that was not existent. And I found that what that really translated was, what do you value? And how could this success you're trying to create threaten what you value?
Yep.
Right. So I love this because if you think scaling up is going to somehow, I had this conversation in a beautiful space recently, and we were a bunch of girls. There were about 12 of us having coffee, having conversation, masterminding. And I was bringing up a conversation about a person in my life who I used to be very close to. And I want to say for the past uh, 5 years, our relationship has drifted. It's evolved, right? And her first question was it because of your work? Is your business, was your business a threat to your relationship? Like, do you feel like she's no longer at your mindset or at your level, how she worded it. And my thought was, no, I think as beings, as creatures, we naturally evolve, right? It's at what point, at what point do you choose to let go of my hand? You know, we get to me, I value relationships. I value relationships like no other. However, I also honor the person in the relationship. If there is ever, I mean, I'm walking a divorce right now. I'm navigating a divorce. And that is like the biggest evidence in my life that I will honor your wishes no matter what that means to me. And you know, I can hold it. I'm a big girl, right? But in the past they used to put me on the sidelines and like make it mean something about my success that wasn't. They're totally irrelevant, right? They're totally irrelevant. They're you know, and a lot of it, I feel like this past week I've discovered a deeper layer of the same onion, which is how do we feel about what we are building about us, right? How does it reflect on how we feel and perceive us? And so I loved how you were talking about the mirror, Jewelz, because I do feel that sometimes those mirrors are here to make you aware that you have a booger right here
Yeah.
and you need to take it off.
Well, and I think too, it's, are you really going to change? Are you ready to change? I think it's the universe saying like, okay, here's your challenge. Are you ready to step into it a different way? Here's another opportunity to handle that situation a different way. Here's another opportunity to not get upset when that person cuts you off in traffic, right?
Right, there's no need to break your heart. And this is the thing, right? I feel like the women that come into our space, and one of the major factors on why I felt it was such a beautiful collaboration to do this together is because nobody can define success for you but you, right? Success looks
Yep.
so different for me than it does for Jewelz, than it does for you, than it does for your mom, than it does for your dad. And so the disservice I feel that is out there is telling you that one, you're going to figure it out if you haven't already, that if you don't build an authentic relationship with you first, you're going to be creating a lot of things in your life that look like everybody else's opinions, right?
And I think that's why we have such a high depression rate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I heard somebody make this statement, and like I think it was somebody famous. I can't think of their name, but they made a comment about that. Right, depression is really not a, and I'm not discounting anybody that is experiencing this, but I can totally see how this plays out, where people are depressed and they think it's something outside of them, but it's really, to your point, an misalignment in how they're showing up in the world, right? Because I know, like for me at least, I bought into you have to make six figures to be successful. You have to have the career. You have to work really hard to prove to your boss that you deserve that 2%, 3% raise that you're going to get at the end of the year. And all those things work great until you start to beat yourself up for them.
Yep.
And so does it really matter that you're making six figures and you're still feeling like crap because you're not spending time with your kids because you're so burned out, right?
Yep.
It's still important to you to, you know, hustling to the seven figures and you're still like trying to prove to your partners that you're worth the build up, that you are worth a partner to build with. You know, so it's interesting. It's just fascinating to me how when it comes to the idea of wealth, how all of us have a different blueprint and how it is so achievable if we only tap into what's really happening within.
Yep.
And
It also,
sometimes, like with my work with you, Jules, I'll finish this thought and then I'll let you have it. Because I feel like for a lot of the people that, and it was for me, true for me as well. Like when I started doing this work, I thought another business strategy was going to be what's going to solve my problem. If only I could buy my time back, then I'll be happy. If I could only make 6 figures, then I'll be able to do this. If only I could spend the weekends, like I always had a goal and then, right? But it's like when we tap into this work, it's not very obvious up front that, hey, you're just building somebody else's blueprint. And I think that's where the beautiful work that we do together comes into play, especially from your standpoint. Because I come from the front end, but you come from the back end.
Yeah, that's why we're like peanut butter and jelly.
Yes. In the most healthy way.
Yeah, natural jam and almond butter.
That's right.
Yeah. I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Oh,
You're hungry.
not what I was gonna say, but yes, this work is beautiful, and the results that I've seen through our spaces is just next to none. It's wild.
Yeah. I love it because I feel like, when we start tapping, working with that client right from the front end to the back end, we come to a middle ground and it's like a beautiful flower that just starts blooming. And it wouldn't be possible if Jewelz and I were not doing this work on our lives, right? Like I can sit here and preach to you everything, but at the end of the day, if I'm not doing the work, you will be able to see it.
Same, and it's constant. It's like a video game. There's new layers, but every layer gets more beautiful.
Listen, when it comes to layers, I am thinking about cake right now, and the layers sound delicious.
Um, I know you wanted to share a little bit about what you're cooking up. Would you like to share that?
Yeah, so I feel like, first of all, like wherever you're at in life, if you're a woman that is, how do I say this? I feel for most of us. So let me put me in the hot chair, the hot seat. When I encounter this work, when I encounter what I do, what I help women achieve, when it came to me was at a point in my life where I thought I had it all figured out. But have you seen that meme where the woman is like walking boldly, but in the back there's a lot of fire? There's a big
Okay.
fire. That was my life, right? And I felt like I had it figured out, and then I didn't have it figured out. And it's not that, you know, it's not that we're necessarily in a bad space, but the point is we can always get better. If you have worked your butt off to create success and you're not enjoying it, I want to invite you to consider working with me and Jewelz. So I am not going to be releasing details yet because because we are putting something super special for the people that want to partner with us for a year. And this is, I had a mentor say to me a few years back, give me a year of your life and it will not be the same. And I feel like I'm saying the same to you because I've had the beautiful opportunity to work with a millionaire woman for a whole year. And when she came in my world, she was already making 7 figures. This woman had the title. This woman is a breadwinner in her home. She wears the high heels to prove it and has the most amazing heart. But there was a void that was made of, I need to make more to be happy. And I just don't know how to fulfill this void. And we found working with her, I found that her her goal was to create a $3 million goal, and it wasn't the 3 million she was after. She was after the creating the fulfillment piece. So I brought in Jewelz to work with her, and with my work and her work, this woman is transforming. She went from being a millionaire at the cusp of, almost at the verge of quitting her business. She was ready to burn it down, and she went from that mindset to building the most beautiful and solid team that is actually co-creating her 3 million figure. Actually, I think she expanded to 10 now. And she has done tons of work around how she's defining success. Who is she showing up in her success? But it all has been the work that we're doing together in order to break through her ceiling. And she's increased her revenue 27% each month consecutively for 12 months. Why? Because money, people will tell you that money loves confidence. And I will challenge that and say money loves authenticity more than it loves confidence. And this woman is finally standing in her power. She's showing up in power. She's lost, I want to say, about 20 more pounds in her space, right, Jewelz?
Yeah, I think that's about it. Might even be more, to be honest.
Yeah, so she's been losing a lot of weight. She has a bombshell body in her mid-50s. She looks amazing. She's not only increased her monthly revenue 27%, she was already a millionaire. She has built the most beautiful relationships in her firm and her company, and also in her personal life, because of the work she's been doing. So I don't say it lightly to say that what Jewelz and I are bringing to the table, and we want to continue talking about how to create meaningful wealth. We're going to be showing live every Friday to talk more about this. But I really want to invite you to consider sending me or Jewelz a DM, calling out divine flame. I want you to type the word divine flame. If this resonated with you, type the words divine flame. And if you want to know more or be in the list to know the actual details, Jewelz and I are partnering together for a whole year to transform the life of the woman that is ready to break through the ceiling of where she's been. And what does that look like for you? It could be in your health, in your wealth, in your business. The work that we're going to do together is going to transform all areas of your life. When my beautiful client came to me, she wanted to work on her leadership. She felt she was, in her words, a pushover. But that was not the case. I just mentioned to you three different things that or four different things that have massively grown and solidify for her in the most juicy, dreamy way for her by working with me and Jewelz. So if you are remotely interested in tapping into what that means, hit the follow button in our profiles so that you are notified when we are going live. But two, send us a DM with the word divine flame to know more. Jewelz and I will be coming in every week to talk about it more. And just, again, have conversations, right? And have conversations about what makes success meaningful to you. And feel free to drop any insights that like click for you. I want to also invite you that if somebody came to your mind as you were hearing us speak, that you're like, oh my God, that person will benefit from this, please feel free to share it with them. I cannot tell you how many women have come through our doors because a friend thought of them and found our content impactful. So I want to invite you to be that good Samaritan to bring somebody with you, because I'm all about relationships. So to me, it's funny to get rich together. And if that's the vibe for you, listen, I want to invite you to get rich with me and Jewelz this upcoming year. So how about that? Jewelz, any last words?
I think the last thing I want to say, I remembered what I was going to say on your comment before. I was reading somewhere once that the ultra rich, like the 1%, when they get, later in life, and I know this happens with people in general, but I was reading where like they have all the wealth in the world, they can do any experience, travel wherever they want. The thing that they maybe regret, I don't know if regret is the word I want to use, but the thing that they want the most isn't money, it's time. It's time to do the things they didn't fulfill, and most always it's personal. So the biggest thing I want to leave people with the impression of is really take this weekend and just I'm going to put that little seed in your brain. What is super important to you? Not what you were raised to think what was important, not what you've been told that's important, what you're supposed to think is important. What is important to you? Is it fishing? Is it rock climbing? Is it spending time with your kids on the swing set? Is it, painting? What is important to you? And it may not look like something that you make money with, but my point to this is take time to make that important too. Because at the end of the day, wealth looks different to everybody. It's not always the six figures. Sometimes it's, did I get really rich sleep? Did I have a really rich conversation over dinner with my family? Did I put my phone in another room so my kids could see I was focused on them? Like rich relationships. I like the word rich, luxurious, like pick your word, right? But that's my challenge for everybody this weekend and you can drop the comments in as you get the little thoughts and they come up and clarity. But what does wealth look like to you? Yeah, that's what I want to end with.
I love that. I love that so very much. Listen, you guys, if you want more of these, let me know. If there's specific questions you have for us so we can answer in these lives, drop them here. Jewelz and I are both in this video, and we will definitely answer your questions on our lives. We are doing these for you guys, right? Because again, if you are waking up every morning to go make money doing something, are you doing it with a thing that you're happy with? Because at the end of the day, no matter where you are in your career, by the way, you can find fulfillment. You can find connection. You can find, to Jewel's point, the connection of what really wealth really means to you. And I think once you connect with that, wealth will definitely just come and chase you and ultimately have you be the evidence. I tell people this all the time. I teach manifestation and I say this all the time. When you understand manifestation, you'll know that it's not cute. It's actually a moral obligation of yours to create the evidence that you were planted in your heart of.
Yes.
It is your dream that is meant to be alive so that the world knows that that is available and possible. So I will leave you guys with that. And I want to say thank you for your time, Jewelz. Thank you for stopping and accommodating your day through my crazy schedule to do this live.
Thank you so much for putting this together. I'm so excited to be a part of this space and officially work with you and bring this beautiful collaboration. Thank you.
Yes, honey, likewise. I love you guys. Have a fantastic Friday. It is the weekend. The body knows it. Be safe, be good. And if you're not, tag me. I love you guys.